Mate, I have a question for you. Within the business industry, as business owners and managers and that, it says, or there's pretty much a saying, they say, hire slow, fire fast.
Yep.
I was wondering if you could give me a little bit of context around that and what your thoughts are on that. Like whether it's, just give me your thoughts around it, I suppose.
So my first thought is, yeah, it's a brilliant idea because now what that doesn't allow for in the hardcore way of looking at things, it doesn't allow any grace in the conversation, right? So that's possibly a mistake. But what I do like about it is it's not the person you hire that ruins your business. It's the person you fail to fire, right? So you are definitely going to hire duds who promised you the world and can't deliver. You're definitely going to do that. It's more a case of how you deal with it on how detrimental it is. So if the people who are quick to go, you're a bad apple, I've tried to convince you, to lift your game, lift your culture, lift your character, lift your skills, you haven't done it, you're out. Whereas a lot of people's mistake is they keep people and they keep people and they hope and they hope and they hope and they hope. But we know with human nature, you can't change anyone. You can lead them, but if they don't follow, they're not going to change. Not for you and not in this season, and it's not personal. Yeah. So given the fact that we can't change anybody and given the fact that, they're not going to change, there is really no point in keeping them. And so you should take that Band-Aid off really quickly. There is something definite to be said about releasing them to their greater destiny, right? If you cut them out of your business, in so many cases, I'm talking like hundreds, having coached people through this journey, the people end up happier when they don't work for you, because when you fire them, they really go find their thing and they become fulfilled. So you're free, they're free, everybody's happy. Yeah. What I don't like the idea of is I don't like the Donald Trump apprentice approach of step in my office, you're fired. Because I have seen that from time to time, 20 to 30% of bad team members, if you actually pull them aside and actually give them tracks to run on and give them a chance, they will lift up their game. 70, 80% won't, because it's a character issue and they're not going to change that for you. But there are a significant group of people that you can actually sit down with them, and we teach average to awesome. So you sit down with somebody and say, you're currently average and I want to get you to awesome. It's a 4-week program, and here's the weekly milestones for 4 weeks of what I need you to start hitting so that in 4 weeks you're an awesome employee. As you go through that journey, you will find out whether they're going to step up or whether they're going to step out, and either is okay.
Yeah, I guess what I wanted to sort of get a bit of an idea from you, when people say fire fast, what does fast look like? Is it exactly what you just said? Is it 1 to 2 weeks? Is it 1 to 4 weeks? Is it 1 to 3 months? What does that look like?
If they're really bad
employees, I suppose.
If they're really bad employee, it's within 5 minutes. Okay?
Yeah, 15.
So, I've worked with some people and we found out that, there were team members who were stealing or gossiping or,
breaking code of conduct.
Just breaking code of conduct. Well, for those people, it's very simple. You call them into the office unannounced. You tell them that the job is over. You grab anything from them that you've got. You walk them to the desk. They get their stuff. You get yours. You walk them out of the door. Now, please understand, I want to be gracious, but you've got to protect the business and everybody else as well. So we're not trying to not pay them. Whatever their statutory obligations are, when you fire them, you pay them. So if you've got to pay them a week or 2 weeks, you're still better off to walk them out. Gives them 2 weeks to find a job, and you don't have a bad apple ruining the whole batch, right? So, but if you think they're the kind of person who's just letting themselves down and there is underlying a good person in there, then yes, you'll probably want to give them 4 weeks to lift their game. But you've got to give them 4 weeks with tracks to run on. You can't just say, lift your game in 4 weeks or you're out. They need to know what lifting the game is. What exactly does it, or what metric do you want them to be hitting? How will you know they're successful along that journey? Right? Because if you don't do that, I don't think it's setting them up to win.
So what if you've got an employee, so we're in the trade industry, you've got an employee who's done his apprenticeship through, and you've just found through their employment, they drop the ball, they let themselves down, you have the little pep talk, you got 4 weeks, I need you to do this. They pick themselves up, And then you go, mate, you're doing a great job, keep up the good work. And as soon as you give them that information, bang, they hit the wall again. They go back down. And that happens consistently over, say, 4 years.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably a come into the office. We need to have a very serious chat about your inability to be consistent. And I would just chart them and say, okay, last year in March I told you this and you were great, and then I told you this and you dropped the ball, and so we had the hard conversation and you lifted your game and you were great, and then you were great for a while and I gave you some constructive some praise, and then you went bad again, and so here's what it's been like for 18 months and it stops as of today. Yeah. So I would say, listen, and you can even say, listen, it's midday, I want you to go home. Maybe do this on a Friday. I'm letting you go home early. You've got all weekend. I want you to come back on Monday and tell me, you got one or two choices. You come here and you be consistently great, or I'm going to help you find another job.
Yeah.
And you tell them, either one of those is okay. Because if they vote themselves off the island, well, not only is it easier under law, but also they were never going to change. If they vote themselves off the island in that scenario, what they were also saying is, I was always going to be like that.
Yeah.
And by the way, some people, sometimes that is just their personality. Massive highs and massive lows, and they bring that to work. One of the things to work out is, do you just put up with it? Do you just put up with it, knowing that the end game is worth it?
Yeah.
Because we gotta handle our team individually, right? And so sometimes there is a place for us to go, you know what, the net of having Billy go up and down all the time and me having to have a chat 3 times a year, is it still worth having him here?
Yeah. What effect does he have on the rest of the team?
Yeah, so you'd measure that and you would look at what's the upside, what's the downside, and if the upside is still better than the downside, we keep them and we lead them, and we try and eliminate some of those highs and lows.
One of the hardest things as a business owner is when you've got an employee that is just genuinely a nice person.
Yep.
They haven't got a bad bone in their body, but they're in a job, but you still need to get results. They need to get results. I need to get results for my customer. That can be that's one of the hardest things as a boss, I suppose, when, you have an employee like that, but I've put, little action plans in place to try and help them grow to be better in this area. This is what you're good at. This is where you're not so good at.
Yeah.
But,
and you can only do so much of that, because if they don't want to change, it doesn't matter what you do, they're not going to change.
You can't change it.
And if I saw that period of time and I kind of gave them the ultimatum of whether they want to work with you or whether you help them find another job, I wouldn't be upset if they left. And if they didn't improve, it's probably another candidate of, you're not a good fit for us.
Yeah.
If the trade-off is not there, if the results are not there, it's too much of a hassle to keep somebody like that when you're trying to run a positive culture. So that's just part of the equation of weighing up, what do they bring in? How much of a headache are they on the way through? Do I think I can lead them? Yes, no, and then release them if it's not going to work.
How much pressure can the Australian employment agency or whoever they are put on you if you're is it under 15 staff? I think you can just ask someone to leave. You don't have to have too much.
Yeah, it's about that. Yep.
It's about that.
It might be 12, but I'm not sure. Somewhere between 12 and 15, yeah. You can't ask them to leave. Yeah. You've still got to pay out all their entitlements. You've still got to look like you can't just ask them straight out to leave. You've got to have gone through a process. The 3 strikes and you're out process is actually, that doesn't exist anymore in the true sense of 3 strikes and you're out. But the concept still exists of, hey, I've cancelled you, we've agreed on a plan, you haven't done it. I cancelled you again, we've agreed on a plan, you haven't done it. The 3rd time, it's not going to work, goodbye.